welcome back, guys, to a new episode of the Eating Agendas podcast. Last episode I did bad guy in Israel. Today I'm going to be doing British immigration, and I do think it's a serious topic that we do need to talk. I'm going to have to reveal my political views. I don't really do that, but there goes. So British immigration, it's getting worse. We have immigrants who come to the country. Hopefully most of them are legal through, work visa or student visa. Come to study, they study their degree, they come to work for a company, whatever that may be, and then there's the bad side of it, illegal immigration, where you have people who come from many countries around the world. Romania, Poland, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and several others. They claim benefits at the expense of the British taxpayer money. I also want to talk about the far right, and also do want to talk about Andrew Tate, as well as the notion of Islamism and radical Islam, which I think is nothing but a false notion. So let's get through it. There's been a lot of news lately about certain things are happening around the world, especially when it comes to activists and activism. So, just last week, far-right activist Tommy Robinson, aka Stephen Yaxley Lennon, was released from prison on the basis that he would change. Well, he hasn't really changed because his views are the same. That's what a judge says, that he's going to change, he's going to abide by the law. That's the official story, which I don't believe. 42-year-old is crucial of Islam, immigration and Sharia law, which he claims that Britain is under attack by. So to me, I think he's just another payee by the Zionist regime in the efforts to cause division and hatred. I guess he's been in support of the far-right, anti-Arab and anti-Islam activism in the Israeli-occupied West Bank, which is Palestinian territory. So to move your population into an occupied territory is a crime. It's a war crime technically. It's banned under international law, but hey, as long as Tom Robinson is deluding the population, nothing else matters, right? Because it's helping out the Zionist regime. So last Monday, the team of Merseyside, Liverpool, won the Premier League this year, 2024-2025, and they celebrated by bringing the trophy back home. While all that was happening, many people joined. Millions of people joined the parade. While that was happening, a white guy rammed his car and hit several people. By the grace of God, no one was killed, but there are serious injuries. So my thoughts go to those who were injured badly. When this report was first revealed, and the BBC and several others reported this, the full details were not even disclosed, right? Nobody knows who the guy was. Nobody knows what his intentions were. Nobody knows what he looked like, what his religion was. As soon as it was reported that a white guy rammed his car in front of dozens of supporters, what does the far right say? What does Tom Robinson say? They say, oh, the perpetrator, he must have been a Muslim. He must have been a Pakistani. All over Twitter, all over X. Well, I'm not really surprised by X because Elon Musk, Andrew Tate, these famous influencers, even Charlie Kirk, who I strongly disagree with, and this woman on X as well, who is really political about Islam in a really bad way, known as, what's her name, Laura Loomer or something. Anyway, the fact of the matter is they want a Muslim to commit crime so badly. They want it to happen. They want to make sure that, it has to be a Muslim so we can stage some attack, so we can just hurt as many Muslims as possible. We can destroy as many mosques as we want. We ban halal meat, make sure that Islam is completely eradicated from the UK in the efforts to, claim it is to reduce extremism. These are the double standards. If a Catholic woman is allowed to cover herself, then why can't a Muslim cover herself? And then the Europeans and American Islamophobes say it is oppression. I would have to argue forcing someone to do something they don't want to do is oppressive. So if a woman doesn't want to wear a hijab but you force her to, then that is what you call oppression. But in terms of religious matters, she has to, like in Saudi Arabia, a Muslim woman has to cover up when she goes to Mecca or Medina. Maybe in Riyadh, Jeddah and Dammam, you don't have to cover yourself up. But when you want to wear a hijab, when you want to cover up, the Europeans have an issue. No, not knowing that 100 years ago plus, European women did the same, they covered up. Because guess what? That's a commandment in the Bible. That is a commandment in Judaism. That is a commandment in Hinduism. But guess what? Hey, to them it doesn't matter. This is clearly ignorance and scapegoating from the far right. I would have to argue that Tom Robinson is only right on 3 things, and 3 things only. illegal immigration. Yeah, he is right. I mean, there are people coming into the country illegally on boats. They are claiming benefits at the expense of the British taxpayer money. They don't speak any English. They want to fly flags that have got nothing to do with the UK. Pakistani flag, Turkish flag, Afghan, Indian. To me, only the Union Jack should be flown. I wouldn't mind that. That is the British flag. It has the right to be here. Social integration. Many people, like I said, they don't speak any English. They claim benefits at the expense of the British taxpayer money, and they just talk in their own language with other people. Where's the English language gone? English is my first language, not Urdu, so I'd speak English here and Urdu privately. And then you have the grooming scandals in the UK, which were committed by Pakistani gangs, who to me are anything but Muslim. So, because rape is strictly forbidden in Islam, raping or sexually assaulting a girl will get you hanged in a Muslim country, in Saudi Arabia, Yemen, the United Arab Emirates, I don't know, even maybe Pakistan and Afghanistan. That's how bad rape is. But in European countries, they will sometimes blame the woman for being raped. Never ever can I ever blame a woman for being raped. Never ever. And what I hate is that Tommy Robinson and all these far-right delinquents want to assert that Muslims have not apologized for what happened to the woman who were groped by these Pakistani gangs. Now, as a Pakistani, I do condemn this. I'm ashamed that this has happened by my own people, and I want to assure the British people that I would never do that. I wouldn't want my community to do that at all. I actually do support the English people. I believe that the British state must be preserved by the English people. So, but I'm not surprised that you know, in Europe you're not going to get apprehended for getting raped. Sometimes the lawyers, they just instigate such stuff, blame the woman for being raped. In Islam, as long as you provide the context, as long as you don't even have to provide witnesses, you just have to provide the context, and just like that, the man gets flogged, death penalty, or even worse, stoning. To me, that is justice. You can't have it both ways. Or the woman who got raped gets to kill her rapist. If that's not justice, I don't know what. So I'm not even surprised that the far right get upset at Muslims for things, right? Even Andrew Tate, who I used to follow, I don't follow him anymore. Well, I wouldn't say I don't follow him anymore, but I'm really mixed on him. I don't know what opinion to have on him because at the same time, he supports Palestine, he opposes the genocide in Gaza while supporting the far right in Europe. So I don't know what to say on that. And then he says things that the UK has an Islamic crime problem, which I have to strongly disagree with, but I'll get to that. Statistically proven that in the UK, most sexual predators, assaulters, are white. You can look this up, I'm not even joking. So what did Andrew Tate say? The UK shouldn't have Islamists or Zionists. I gotta agree with the second part, and I already covered that in the previous podcast. Zionists are disgusting human beings. They are the ones who would justify rape. I've seen it all over Twitter. But guess what? The Muslims get blamed for everything. Oh yeah, that's right, because X is being run by Zionists. The new owner of X, Elon Musk, is a Zionist. So I'm not surprised he's saying such wild things about Islam while not saying anything about the state of Israel, who on a daily basis harm women, on a daily basis harms the Palestinians. Leave the Palestinians, they also harm the Christians. And yet the fact that there are many Christians who, still support shows that you guys don't care about your own people. Andrew Tate, he has been very vocal on X supporting Tommy Robinson and the far right and says that the UK has an Islamic crime problem. Correction, the UK has an immigration and crime problem. Let me try to expand on that. You go to Saudi Arabia, you go to the United Arab Emirates. The thing with Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates is that they don't care about feelings or, what will he say, what will they say. They care about justice, they care about equality. The moment you harm someone, a girl, a child, anyone who did nothing wrong to you, you will get punished. In Europe, that doesn't happen. If someone harms me, if a 16-year-old or if a 17-year-old harms me, they technically walk free because as per the state, you cannot arrest those who are not 18 yet. Not only that, but this is why I hate lawyers. But not all, some lawyers. They will literally make it look like that the victim is the one to blame for being attacked. That's what I just mentioned just now. The lawyers are going to be blaming women for being raped. A lawyer from the the defendant's side is going to be blaming me because I got robbed. It's going to be blaming me because I got stabbed. A 17-year-old harmed. I was just walking home from work. Some bozo, a 16-year-old, takes my stuff, tries to take my stuff. All I have to do is just defend myself. Defending yourself is not even wrong. In Islam, you have the right to defend yourself against bad people. And this is where many Quranic verses are taken out of context. But anyway, what will the Europeans do? Sorry, not the Europeans. What will the police do in the West? They will make it look like that I was the perpetrator. Why? Because they don't want to arrest the 16-year-old. Oh, he's just a minor. He did nothing wrong. He needs to learn. Really, bro? Really? In Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, there are so many migrants, so many immigrants who are, either working or studying. And guess what? There is still peace in Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. If not peace, then at least stability. Why? Because they care about law. They care about justice. What the West want to do is bring liberalism into it. They want to bring let's just rehabilitate these guys. Let me tell you something. Rapists, murderers, serial killers, they don't need to get rehabilitation. You either deport them or you get them killed. Sorry, put the death penalty on them. That's where people are going to call me extreme. Hey, you either have justice or you don't have justice. You can't have both. It's like mixing honey with mud. It's not going to taste the same, and it's certainly not going to look the same either. So the UK is in a bad state, politically and socially. The UK has an immigration and crime problem, and I will highlight this. Back in 2024, a year ago, since the brutal attack in Southport, where 3 girls were brutally stabbed to death by a 17-year-old at the time, so Ruda Cubano, who had every intention to harm people. You can look this up. He had every intention to harm people. Look, that mugshot that was taken by the police, he had every desire to harm someone. The anger in his face. Now, what did the media do? Is that they made it look like that he was some innocent, harmless guy when it was first revealed that, okay, it wasn't a Muslim, but it was a British-born guy from Wales who was originally from Rwanda. What did the media do? Make it look like that he was a harmless, innocent guy. He had no sympathy, he had no remorse, and no room for love, hatred, and anger. So what did Tommy Robinson say? And what did false media reports say? The perpetrator was a Syrian asylum seeker who came in 2023, but by the time real news outlets stated that it wasn't a Muslim or Syrian, it was too late. It started fighting police, burned ambulances, ambulance trucks, hotels, and pretty much wreaked havoc in their own country. I didn't need to do anything, okay? I love the UK, I love London, this is my home. I consider Pakistan to be my second home. I do speak Urdu, but I'm not great in Urdu. English is my mother tongue. For what? For what? Why did the riots have to happen? Just to find out that the perpetrator was a British-born guy originally from Rwanda, and he is a Christian? He's a Christian, he's not even a Muslim. So then what did Tom Robinson say? The media is lying. Well, yeah, you're right, Tommy. The media is lying, but the BBC aren't the only ones who debunked this claim. It was The Guardian, The Telegram, Al Jazeera, Financial Times, The Mirror, and several other refuted the Syrian illegal immigrant claim, like, the New York Times, Fox News, even though they're all biased. But guess what? Sometimes you can't really handle the truth. You just have to upload it. Which surprisingly they did. So, what did Tate say? Well, from last year, as per his Twitter account, which he posts on regularly, he made a few immigrant images which pissed off Piers Morgan. If not pissed off, then infuriated him or got him upset. Now, I personally did not take offense to these images. I find it a bit strange that Tate pretty much agreed, if not agreed, and sympathized with the far-right narrative and was called out by Piers Morgan on his show, Piers Morgan Uncensored. On that note, I did agree with Andrew Tate on many reasons, and I will get to that in a bit. So for the first time, I did find it a bit strange. I expected him to be a bit sympathetic to not only the people of whose daughters were harmed and others, but also sympathetic towards the Muslims, because they were unlawfully targeted on the basis of false media. The Muslims were scapegoated and targeted. Again, it happened on 9/11, it happened again, and it even happened on October the 7th. Which to me was a retaliation. I thought he would be sympathetic to the Muslims who were in the UK who were harmed by the riots, but Tate seemed more upset about the Southport attacks, which I have to say we all were. We all condemned the attacks. I don't condone the attacks. I think it was absolutely disgusting. The state of the UK is getting worse. It's not getting any better, but guess what? I don't think blaming immigrants or blaming Muslims is going to help us. Yes, I do expect social integration from the immigrants, but I don't blame them for what's happening in the UK. I blame the government. And I think Tate should do the same. He does, but he doesn't address it that much. Neither does Tommy Robinson. Tom Robinson and other far-right groups on X call for the mass deportations of all Muslims living in the UK. Hell, even threatening Muslims. And then they wonder why the police arrested him and other far-right activists. Instead of blaming Muslims and legal immigrants, let's hold Starmer accountable for allowing this to happen. Labour under Starmer is getting so bad that even Muslims want to throw him out, not only for the existential problems in the UK, but his support for Israel. But guess what? Tommy Robinson doesn't say anything that the fact that Starmer supports Israel, and neither does any other far-right activists. Now look, I want to be as balanced as possible. I support everyone. If not support everyone, then I want to seek a balanced argument. I want to seek a middle ground. I don't support Starmer or the far-right. I support peace and the people. The people are deprived by the government, while illegal immigrants are claiming benefits at the taxpayer money, at the expense of the British taxpayer money, where wars are being funded by the taxpayer to Israel, Ukraine. For what? For what? It's got nothing to do with me. I want to make sure, and I want to make sure for the British people that we are accommodated by the government. This claim that the government are here to serve the people. In reality, we are serving the government by giving them money so they fund Israel and Ukraine. Ukraine are having their war with Russia. They just, I don't know, drone attacked like Russian planes or something. In Israel, where there's a blockade of Gaza, millions have starved, millions have been killed, and guess what? Our only argument is, oh well, Hamas are the reason why all of this is happening. Like bigots. Yeah, to me, it looks like that Tommy Robinson and Starmer get along really well then oppose each other. So this is just absolute madness. While we are struggling, we can't pay our own bills. In the middle of a cost of living crisis, immigrants, and now I'm going to bring my views on this. Many immigrants who I have seen cannot speak English. Most of them are on universal credit. They don't integrate with British society. They're wearing clothes that they got nothing to do, that has got nothing to do with the UK. And they're also flying flags that are not the Union Jack. I've seen Afghan flags, Pakistani flags, Indian flags, Bangladeshi flags, Iraqi flags, Moroccan flags, Turkish flags. You're in the UK, you're in London. Now, as a Palestinian supporter, I do think that, we should protest against the British government because they are the ones who are causing all the mess in the UK and over there in Palestine. On that note, I'm a Palestinian supporter. I support Palestine privately. I don't need to close off an entire street to express my support. While I agree with Nigel Farage's views, it is still very unwise to pin all Muslims as the core problem in the UK. Yeah, Muslims have committed vile acts, and I'm not condoning that. But what I do need is some honesty. These are the double standards where Muslims are being perpetrated as terrorists, while at the same time Muslims are being oppressed. I'll be honest, Muslims are being oppressed. Like a few weeks ago, was it mid-May or early May? Anyway, a dude from Mali, right? A Malian guy who was teaching a white guy how to pray, right? So this white guy, he came into this mosque in France. He wanted to know how to pray. The Muslim, unfortunately, he was in sujood, well, he was like literally bowing to God. In the mosque, he was killed, stabbed repeatedly by that same guy who he was trying to teach. Repeatedly. And guess what the false media say? It looked like that this white guy was stabbed by a black Muslim. This is the double standards, and I'm sorry, but this is just outright racist. You guys hate religion, you guys hate the skin colors of migrants, especially the migrants who socially integrate with the state. I have socially integrated with the state. I don't claim benefits, okay? I don't claim benefits. I love the UK. I love English people. In fact, I have to argue that in my own life, most of my life, I've been treated with respect by British people, and I have to say they've been really, really respectful to me, kind to me. What I expect from the conservative British people is to stop hating on Muslims. We're on the same team, mate. Your supporter, Nigel Farage and Tom Robinson, they're not going to help the UK in any way. I'm sorry to say that, but they're not. Nigel Farage, though, I have to agree with him on a few points. He is right in some ways. At the same time, he is blaming Muslims for all the issues in the UK as well. And that is something I have to condemn. If Muslims do commit violent crimes, then I do condemn that. Just like just recently, 2 days ago, some guy said "Free Palestine" while setting pro-Israel protesters on fire in Colorado. Just 2 days ago. I think it was, Sunday when it came out? And then it was like the full details were revealed yesterday. My question is, when a non-Muslim does something horrible, does something horrific, why does the blame lie on the individual but an entire religion of 2 billion people gets the blame for the actions of a few individuals, like 9/11, 7/7, 26/11, and even on some accounts, 2015 Paris attacks, 2019 attacks in India, in Kashmir, and just recently in Kashmir as well, including October the 7th. So these are the double standards that need to be addressed. My whole point is to call for peace and harmony with the Jews and Christians, because, we are three monotheistic religions. Now, I have to disagree with the Trinity. I've been in religious debates with some Christians, but, my bottom line is to promote peace with Christians and Jews, as per what the Quran says, because as per the Quran, as per Sharia law, you cannot harm the non-Muslims. It's in the Quran and it's in the Hadith as well. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who is terribly mocked. So many times we as Muslims have to refute the arguments that are going against him, because we have to protect the character of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He is important to us. He is important for the Muslim Ummah. Yeah, I was going to say, he said that if a non-Muslim is harmed, then that person shall not smell the fragrance of heaven. He also said that if a non-Muslim is harmed in Muslim lands, then that person, that ruler, is not for me. It's not of me. He's not my person. He's not my people. He's not my follower. So this is the double standard that need to be addressed. And throughout Islamic history, many empires gave refuge and protection to Jews while they were fleeing anti-Semitic Europe. And I have to say, many Jews were harmed in Spain when the Spanish Inquisition happened. Andalusia pretty much came to an end, Islamic Spain. Many Jews were expelled and they had to go to Jerusalem. It was the Jewish Golden Age in Islamic Spain. I have to argue that many Muslim empires, the Abbasids, the Umayyads, and the Ayyubids, I guess, yeah, they were all much more ahead of Europe. Europe was still finding their way. They still had to decide whether Jesus was even God or not knowing that many Muslim empires, after the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, all of them started to prevail. All of them started to, become, better. Like, we know how to clean ourselves. With all due respect, the Europeans and the Americans, they still don't know how to clean themselves. They use tissue, we use water and tissue to clean up ourselves. And I'm not going to get into that because, that's a discussion for another topic. So, if you ask me, the reason why some Muslim nations have terrorist issues like Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Palestine, Yemen, Libya, Lebanon, is to do with the state of Israel and Zionism. I've mentioned this in my previous podcast, maybe not all of it when it comes to the Muslim and Arab world, but many of the terrorist attacks that are happening around the world is being perpetrated by Israel. Now, many have argued that in Pakistan, the Lashkar-e-Taiba, these terrorists who have not only harmed non-Muslims, but they've also harmed Muslims as well. They're going against the Pakistanis. There are many Muslims who have been harmed by the Lashkar-e-Taiba in Pakistan in the Northwest Frontier province. An infamous attack happened around 10 to 11 years ago, where a school in Peshawar, Pakistan, in the Northwest, was attacked by the Lashkar-e-Taiba, an army school. Hundreds of kids were killed. Really? You want to say that the Lashkar-e-Taiba are Muslims? They killed children. In Islam, you can't kill children regardless. You can't kill the children of the enemy. I can't kill a child is associated with Hinduism, Christianity, or Judaism. It does not matter. Besides, I can't even kill a Christian or a Jew. Why? Because they are the Ahl Kitab. We have to respect them. So these are the double standards I need to address. And Zionism and Israel are pretty much the same thing. Hindutva and the BJP are the same thing. So they want to slander Islam, create so much propaganda, Islamophobic propaganda around the world, just to make it look like that Islam and Muslims are the reason why the world is suffering. I would have to argue that no, ignorance is the biggest reason why you guys are deluded, why you guys are divided. So while far-right activists slander Islam and make a mockery of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, these guys are getting paid by Zionist lobbies to spew crap about Islam, further dividing society instead of reuniting us. And this is exactly what the devil wants. More division, less love, just so the general mass gets deluded, just so we follow these far-right leaders, these far-right activists like sheep, while they are being paid by lobbies to spew crap about religions. So as a Muslim, I would never ever say something bad about Jews or Christians. I like Jews and Christians. I went to Paris with my mum and my sister, and we were treated really well by a Jewish restaurant owner who allowed us to use their toilet. Christians, I don't have an issue with them. What I do have an issue with is the way they slander us. In experience, many Christians slander the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, because he married 9-year-old Aisha. Now, we have to understand a few things we have to add context to this. If we don't add context, then our whole argument is pathetic. In the 7th century, marrying children, as we know today, was common back then, right? I'm not saying they should marry a child. What I'm saying is that you need to add historical and cultural context in the time of history. Now, in Europe, in North America, marrying children was so common. Leave marrying children, cousins married each other. It was so common in Europe and North America. It was only the rise of feminism and liberalism where the age of consent was increased to 18 and women were allowed more rights. I'm not saying that women shouldn't give rights, but women were then allowed rights in Europe and North America. I mean, hey, Muslim women were allowed rights 1400 years ago when the Quran was revealed. So that's that. Muslim women are allowed to have business. They are allowed to have their own financial independence. They have the right to property, and they were allowed to divorce, which wasn't even allowed in Christianity until 100 years ago. So there's that. I don't want to get into that much because this topic was mostly about Britain and immigration. My message to Tate is that he is a really good guy. I followed him a lot from 2022 up until 2024 when he, I guess, supported the right wing and far right activists. Now, to me, the right wing and the far right activists are, to me, Israeli supporters. They are paid by the Zionists to spew this type of crap. You shouldn't be following Tom Robinson. I mean, I understand you two are from Luton, but he is paid to say this crap. And to me, no matter how many times you try to reason with people like him, no matter how many times you try to have a civil argument, a civil discussion with these type of people, they'll get defensive. You can't really reason with them. It happened last year when the media revealed that it was Axel Axel is his name, right? When they refuted the claim, and then the far-right media was like, this guy, why is the media now saying that this guy is a black guy and didn't say that before? As if the media was in favor of the black guy. And just now, because the media made a mistake last year, they don't want to repeat the mistake. And then the far right again said that it is quite obvious why the media revealed that it was a white guy who committed this horrific crime. What? First you just said that the media are biased and now you're saying that's what? So it doesn't make sense. I'm rambling here when it comes to the far right because that's how deluded they are. That's how pissed off I get by them. But I guess it is what it is. We all know what is behind the problems in the UK. Like I said, I want to address this. The UK should be preserved by the English people, but we need to make sure that migrants, immigrants, Muslims are not always blamed for such things that happen in the UK. We all make mistakes, but to sit and say that Muslims are the reason why the UK is suffering is really unwise. So we need to make that distinction. As a Muslim, I do love the Christians. As a Muslim, I want peace with the Christians and the Jews. I actually follow a lot of accounts that say that, we're not follow accounts like Reels that say that Muslims and Christians need to reunite to kick out Zionists out of Palestine. So if you're a Christian, you do need to understand that Israel is not your friend, they are your enemy. The way they treat Christians in the West Bank is horrific. I would never follow them. Zionists are liars, Jews are not necessarily liars, Jews are good people. But yeah, it is what it is. If you guys like this episode, then please tune in on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, comment, and even share it. Spread the word. I'm going to cease it here. If you guys haven't seen episode, what was it, episode 12 and 11, it's all, it's all there on my YouTube channel. Check it out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. The episode I did about MAGA in Israel, as well as the podcast I did with Ian Bookshan, who is a content creator and a blogger. So I'm going to cease it here. Let me know your thoughts of what you think about this podcast. I will see you in the next episode of the Hidden Agendas podcast.